Welcome to JuXa Tales. Some stories are told to entertain. Ours are told to linger. We specialize in immersive, narrated journeys that explore the shadows of the human psyche, the weight of secrets, and the variables of intimacy that define our lives. From the quiet tension of a forgotten village to the complex puzzles of a midnight investigation, every installment is a cinematic experience for your ears. Step inside. The story is just beginning. This episode is titled The Gilded Vow, Part 1. Let's hear the overview of this story first. The Gilded Vow tells the story of Mr. X and Tamanna, a power couple defined by their absolute honesty and a fiery private romance. Their lives are upended when a business rival, Pooja, files a scandalous lawsuit alleging that Mr. X's ornament empire is built on corruption and violence. Stepping into the courtroom as her husband's defender, Tamanna uses her elite legal intellect to scientifically dismantle a web of lies spun by false witnesses and an aggressive opposing counsel. Through a series of brilliant cross-examinations, Tamanna not only proves Mr. X's innocence, but exposes the criminal malice of his accusers. The drama culminates in a total legal victory, where the villains are imprisoned and the couple returns to their sanctuary, having proven that their integrity and their love is indestructible. If you loved this overview, let's listen to the full story. The Gilded Fortress. The skyline of the city was dominated by the X-Tam, a sprawling architectural marvel of glass and white marble house. To the public, it was a symbol of philanthropy. To Mr. X, it was the only place where the weight of the world truly vanished. Mr. X was a man of absolute precision. In the glittering world of high-end ornaments, where synthetic stones and blood diamonds often muddied the waters, his reputation was his most valuable asset. Every gem he sold came with a lineage of transparency. He didn't just sell jewelry, he sold trust. By his side was Tamanna, a woman whose brilliance in the courtroom was matched only by her elegance at a gala. As a top-tier lawyer, she was known for a scalpeller intellect, sharp, clean, and impossible to parry. Together, they were the city's golden couple, spending their days building empires and their evenings funding orphanages and medical clinics. However, the true love of their lives began when the sun dipped below the horizon. The moment the heavy mahogany doors of their bedroom closed, the businessman and the lawyer ceased to exist. In the amber glow of dimmed chandeliers, they surrendered to a primal, sophisticated romance. Their connection was a choreographed dance of intimacy. They explored one another with the same passion they applied to their careers, treating their nightlife as a sacred ritual of discovery. Every pose, every touch, and every whispered breath was a testament to a love that had never grown stale. In each other's arms, they were not icons. They were simply two souls entwined. The morning began like a masterpiece in slow motion. Sunlight filtered through the floor-to-ceiling silk curtains of the master suite, casting long, golden, honey-streaked shadows across the rumpled Egyptian cotton. For Mr. X and Tamanna, the transition from the night's feverish intimacy to the morning's quiet devotion was a ritual. They lay tangled together, the silence of the massive palace broken only by the rhythmic hum of the city far below. Mr. X traced the line of his wife's shoulder with the calloused fingertips of a man who spent his days handling the world's most delicate emeralds and diamonds. To him, no gemstone in his vault possessed the fire he found in her eyes. Tamanna, usually the sharp-tongued architect of the courtroom, was soft here. She leaned into his touch, her breath hitching, a silent conversation born of years of perfect non-working nights. Their morning was not just about affection. It was about a magnetic pull that made the outside world feel like a distant, irrelevant rumor. They moved with a synchronized grace, a lingering kiss in the marble-tiled bath that spoke of the varied poses and experimental passion of the night prior. There was a profound, intelligent electricity between them, a knowledge that they were each other's only true equals. "You have a board meeting at 10, Tamanna whispered, her fingers smoothing the lapel of his bespoke charcoal suit as she helped him dress, a task they preferred to do themselves rather than leave to the staff. "And you have a deposition," he countered, pulling her flush against him. his hands anchoring her waist. But right now, the only thing that exists is this room. He kissed her with a hunger that defied their years of marriage, a mix of deep-rooted stability and raw, unyielding desire. It was the peak of their romantic nightlife spilling over into the day, a final moment of absolute, untainted peace. The tension shifted from romantic to chilling the moment they stepped into the sun-drenched breakfast nook. A silver tray sat on the table, usually reserved for the morning papers and invitations to charity galas. Instead, a heavy, cream-colored envelope sat there, looking strangely clinical against the backdrop of their opulent life. Mr. X's hands, usually as steady as a surgeon's when setting a 5-carat stone, hesitated for a fraction of a second. As he broke the seal, the warmth of the morning evaporated. The document was a summons for fraudulent trade practices. Tamanna watched his face. The soft, relaxed lines of the lover she had held an hour ago vanished, replaced by the rigid mask of a businessman under fire. She reached out, her hand covering his. The romantic tension of the bedroom was instantly replaced by the sharp, electric tension of a legal battlefield. The golden couple had just been declared fair game.
The architect of defense. The air in the library, usually thick with the scent of aged leather and expensive cologne, turned glacial. Mr. X stood by the window, the court notice trembling slightly in his hand, not from fear, but from the sheer, vibrating insult of the words printed on it. "Fraud," he whispered, the word tasting like ash. "They are accusing me of using my business as a front for this?" Tamanna stepped forward, her silk robe trailing behind her like a queen's mantle. The soft, romantic light in her eyes from an hour ago had been replaced by a cold, predatory sharpness. She took the document. As her eyes scanned the lines, her brain, a high-speed processor of legal precedent and human psychology, began to dismantle the claims. The rival's gambit. "Pooja," Tamanna said, her voice dropping an octave into a tone of pure clinical analysis. "She isn't just looking for a market share anymore, X. She's looking for a public execution." She walked to her mahogany desk, spreading the papers out. The accusations were a laundry list of scandals designed to trigger every regulatory red flag in the industry. The network of corruption. The claim that Anasuya and Rashmi, two of the most respected independent gem graders in the country, were nothing more than bribed mouthpieces. The shadow services. A disgusting allegation that Mr. X used high society escorts, Deepika, Nivetha, and Vidya, to grease the wheels of international trade deals. The enforcers. Perhaps the most absurd claim, that he employed heavyweights, like Rhonda, Becky, and Raylene, to physically intimidate smaller jewelers who refused to sell their mines to him. "And she's hired Rakul Preet," Tamanna noted, her lips curling into a thin, dangerous smile. "Rakul is aggressive. She doesn't care about the truth. She cares about the theater of the courtroom. She wants to turn your honesty into a punchline." The vow of the shield. Mr. X turned to his wife. "You know every stone I've ever bought. You know every charity ledger. These women, Anasuya, Deepika, Rhonda, they aren't operatives. They are professionals we've mentored or partnered with for years." Tamanna walked over to him, her hands resting on his chest, feeling the steady thrum of his heart. The romantic intimacy they shared was now their greatest weapon. She knew his soul better than he knew his own balance sheets. "I know," she said firmly, "which is why Rakul Preet has already lost. She thinks she's fighting a businessman. She doesn't realize she's fighting a wife who happens to be the best litigator in this city." She looked back at the names on the paper. Pooja thinks she's being smart by using only women as witnesses and enforcers. It's a tactic to make you look like a predator in a court of law. It's calculated. It's intelligence used for malice. Tamanna's eyes flashed with a brilliant, calculated fire. "I won't just win this case, X. I am going to dismantle Pooja's entire empire until there isn't a single brick left standing. You continue to be the honest man the world knows. Let me be the storm that protects you." She picked up her phone and dialed her senior clerk. "Cancel my hearings for the next month. I'm taking a private case. The defendant is my husband. The petitioner is about to make the biggest mistake of her life.
The gavel of truth. The High Court was a cathedral of solemnity, its vaulted ceilings and polished oak benches amplifying the tension that hung in the air like an approaching storm. At the center of the bench sat Judge Julia, a woman whose reputation was forged in steel. Known for her incisive neutrality, she was the only judge in the district whose gaze could make even the most seasoned perjurer break a sweat. On the left sat Pooja, draped in designer silk, her face a mask of practiced grievance. Beside her was Rakul Preet, leaning back with a predatory confidence, tapping a gold pen against her legal pad. On the right, Mr. X sat with his spine perfectly straight, the embodiment of a man with nothing to hide. Tamanna stood beside him, her hair pulled back into a severe, elegant knot. She looked less like a lawyer and more like a general preparing for a siege. The prosecution's opening salvo. Your Honor, Rakul Preet began, her voice echoing with theatrical resonance. Honesty is a beautiful cloak, but even the finest silk can hide a rot beneath. We are here to prove that Mr. X's empire of integrity is built on the backs of exploited women and shadow deals. Rakul motioned to her bench. Her star witnesses, JuXa, Poonam, and Namitha, stepped forward. Under oath, they began a coordinated dance of deception. JuXa claimed she had seen Mr. X handing over thick envelopes of incentives to the agents Anasuya and Rashmi. Poonam wept softly as she described a private lounge where Deepika, Nivatha, and Vidya were allegedly forced to entertain foreign dignitaries to secure ornament contracts. Namitha detailed a harrowing, fabricated account of being physically cornered by Rhonda, Becky, and Raylene on Mr. X's orders after she tried to report a faulty diamond shipment. The gallery whispered. The accusations were heavy, dirty, and designed to tarnish Mr. X's golden boy image forever. The clash of will. Rakul Preet turned toward Tamanna's side of the room, her lip curling in a sneer. And Your Honor, look at the defense's witness list. Anasuya, Rashmi, the escorts, the enforcers. These women are accomplices. Their testimony shouldn't just be disregarded, it should be treated as a confession. They are part of the fraud. The courtroom went silent. Rakul had overplayed her hand, attempting to strip the defense of its voice before it could even speak. Judge Julia leaned forward, her eyes narrowing behind her spectacles. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Counselor Rakul Preet. Julia's voice was a low, dangerous hum. In this courtroom, we do not decide who is a fraud based on your opening monologue. Every witness under subpoena will be heard. To suggest I should silence a defense before a single cross-examination is an insult to the robe I wear. You do not dictate the rules of evidence here. I do. Rakul stiffened, her confidence flickering for a brief second. The silent promise. Tamanna didn't say a word. She simply looked at her husband, then at the 8 women standing behind them. Anasuya, Rashmi, Deepika, Nivetha, Vidya, Rhonda, Becky, and Raylene. They weren't cowering. They were fuming. Tamanna leaned in and whispered to Mr. X. They think they've trapped us in a web of lies. They don't realize I've already found the loose thread. She stood up, adjusted her blazer, and looked directly at JuXa, who was still sitting in the witness box. The real battle was about to begin. The episode ends here.
Every story has an end, but the secrets often linger. If this tale stayed with you, consider subscribing to JuXa Tales and hitting the bell icon so you never miss a chapter. Check the description for more details. Until the next story, good night.